Have you ever imagined a digital world where a group of boarding school students discover a hidden virtual realm filled with danger and mystery? And that's not it. They have to navigate between the real world and the digital frontier, confronting evil forces threatening both realms. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. However, before we begin, let us set some context for better understanding. In the world of Code Lyoko, Jeremy Belpoise, a brilliant 8th grade student at Caddick Academy, stumbles upon a remarkable discovery: a quantum supercomputer hidden within an abandoned factory near his school. Upon activation, he unlocks the gateway to a virtual realm known as Lyoko, where he encounters Elita, an artificial intelligence trapped within the digital landscape. However, Jeremy soon learns of a sinister presence lurking within the supercomputer, Xana, a highly intelligent multi-agent system with the ability to manipulate the real world through electronic possession. Xana's ultimate goal is to eliminate anyone aware of the supercomputer's existence, allowing it to reign unchecked and unleash chaos upon humanity. With the help of his friends Ulrich, Odd, and Yumi, Jeremy goes on a high-stakes mission to thwart Xana's schemes, protect Elita, and safeguard both the virtual and real worlds from impending doom. Jeremy Belpoise, a young genius, discovers an abandoned factory and reactivates a supercomputer, awakening a pink-haired AI named Maya on a virtual world called Lyoko. At Caddick Academy, new student Odd Della Rabia arrives and immediately takes an interest in Ulrich Stern's romantic interests. Ulrich reluctantly agrees to room with Odd, but tensions rise when Ulrich's crush, Sissy Delmas, shows interest in him. Meanwhile, Jeremy discovers a mysterious logo linked to attacks on Maya and attempts to shut down the supercomputer. Ulrich learns about Lyoko and Maya, and Jeremy reveals the scanners that can virtualize people. In a mishap, Odd and Ulrich are virtualized onto Lyoko, where they encounter hostile creatures and discover a red tower emitting powerful energy. After battling enemies and destroying the tower, Jeremy realizes they must delve deeper into Lyoko's mysteries to confront the threat of Xana. Meanwhile, Sissy discovers the truth about Lyoko and confronts Ulrich, straining their relationship. Despite tensions, the group prepares to face future challenges united against Xana's threats. The next morning, Odd debuts a new spiked hairstyle reminiscent of his virtual appearance to Ulrich and Sissy during breakfast. Meanwhile, Jeremy conducts research on Lyoko and discusses with Maya the potential to materialize her on Earth using the towers. Despite resistance from the others, Jeremy is determined to proceed. Sissy invites Ulrich to her cheerleading practice, but he declines, focusing on Jeremy's mission. As Sissy faces an unexpected attack from an electrical orb, Maya hears a pulse from the activated tower and Lyoko and ventures out alone. Ulrich reconnects with Yumi, his martial arts sparring partner, and later rendezvous with Jeremy to investigate the Return to the Past program. Meanwhile, Odd and Jeremy uncover clues about the supercomputer's capabilities. Sissy's encounter with the orb prompts her to reveal the secret to her father and Jim. When Ulrich, Odd, and Yumi confront the orb, they decide to involve Yumi in their mission, leading to Maya's rescue. As they confront Xana's threats, Elita's true identity and the nature of their adventures become clearer. Despite the challenges, they vow to continue their virtual exploits, united against Xana's schemes, and thus the Lyoko warriors are formed. Millie and Tamiya's report on the school prom is interrupted when Sissy mocks them. Feeling rejected, Millie asks Ulrich to the dance, but he declines as he's going with Yumi. Upset, Millie confides in Tamiya about her frustrations, unknowingly observed by Xana. Xana possesses Millie's teddy bear after she expresses her wish to be bigger. The possessed teddy bear grows to a massive size and wreaks havoc in the town. Ulrich, tasked with protecting the school, and Yumi, warned by Ulrich, evacuate the students, while Odd heads to Lyoko to assist Elita in deactivating the tower. After successfully averting disaster and a return to the past, Millie asks Ulrich to the dance again, and he accepts, embarrassing Sissy. Principal Delmas allows Odd to hold auditions for a rock band named the Pop Rock Progressives, seeking a drummer. Nicholas, despite Odd's reluctance, impresses everyone with his drumming skills. Meanwhile, Xana plots to cause a nuclear meltdown by overloading a power plant with stored electricity. Concerned about the potential catastrophe, the group debates whether to inform the authorities. Ultimately, they decide to do so, with Yumi volunteering to notify them while the rest focus on stopping Xana. As they race against time to deactivate the tower and prevent the disaster, they must also avoid discovery of the supercomputer by the authorities. In the aftermath, Nicholas and Jim join the Pop Rock Progressives, adding to the band's lineup. Jeremy and Ulrich resort to graffiti to keep Jeremy at school during vacation, intending to monitor Xana's activity. Sissy overhears their conversation and convinces her father to let her stay at the school to uncover the group's secret. Meanwhile, Xana possesses barrels of poison, transforming them into a deadly gas. When Jeremy learns of Xana's scheme, he calls his friends back from their vacations. As the gas attacks Jeremy, Jim, and Sissy, Jeremy narrowly escapes. Ulrich stays behind to locate Jim and Sissy, while the others rush to deactivate the tower. In the end, Jeremy and Ulrich collaborate on graffiti portraying Jim as a king, much to his delight. Ulrich initially plans to flee but decides to face detention with Jeremy to avoid math tutoring, strengthening their bond. Sissy discovers Ulrich's diary and blackmails him into being her boyfriend. During a school trip to a swimming pool, Jeremy and Yumi attempt to retrieve Ulrich's diary from Sissy. However, the electric bus they are traveling on is possessed by Xana, causing chaos. Yumi finds Sissy's diary and uses it to coerce her into revealing the location of Ulrich's diary. Meanwhile, Xana takes control of the bus and directs it towards the city's petrochemical plant, posing a grave threat to the city. Yudi is sent to Lyoko to assist Elida, but she is devirtualized during the mission. Odd, managing to escape from the bus, escorts Elida safely to the tower, where they deactivate it to halt Xana's attack. After Jeremy activates the Return to the Past, resetting the timeline, Yumi retrieves Ulrich's diary from the bathroom and returns it to him. She assures him that she didn't read it, and they share a moment of secrecy and intimacy. Ulrich expresses his gratitude, hinting at the secrets contained within the diary that he may one day share with her. They part ways on a slightly awkward but secretly romantic note. Meanwhile, Ulrich intercepts Sissy at his dorm just in time to catch her off guard with the recovered diary. Confused and defeated, Sissy retreats as Ulrich enters his room to find Odd and Jeremy. They celebrate both the successful recovery of Ulrich's diary and the victory over Sissy, cheering at their accomplishments of the day. During Xana's latest assault on the internet, much of the city's infrastructure is crippled. Although manual controls can mitigate some issues, 2 fully automated trains are set on a collision course, one carrying highly toxic chemicals. Yumi and Ulrich rush to aid Elida on Lyoko, but Odd is detained by Jim due to Sissy's betrayal regarding Kiwi, a prank Odd played on her. On Lyoko, Ulrich and Yumi are devirtualized, leaving Elida to confront a Megatank alone, utilizing her creativity. Eventually, Odd manages to break free and joins Elida, and together they thwart Xana's scheme, just in time to prevent the catastrophic collision of the trains. Due to a stroke of luck on Odd's part, Jeremy's materialization program for Elida is completed, but it can only be used once. Diana takes advantage of the situation by possessing 2 bulldozers and sending them to attack the factory, aiming to prevent Elida's materialization. While Ulrich attempts to halt the bulldozers, he is knocked unconscious, prompting Yumi to rescue him. Meanwhile, Odd ventures into Lyoko to confront the threat. Despite his efforts, Odd is devirtualized, leaving Yumi to take action. As she joins Elida on Lyoko, Yumi bravely sacrifices herself to protect Elida from an attack, inadvertently falling into the digital sea. In a desperate move to save Yumi, Elida forfeits her chance at materialization, allowing Jeremy to bring Yumi back. Yumi and Elida investigate an active tower in the ice sector of Lyoko. Suddenly, Yumi is abducted by Xana and trapped inside a guardian. Jeremy, unable to locate her on the interface, instructs Elida to remain in the tower while he investigates. Meanwhile, a clone of Yumi, created by Xana, emerges from the scanners at the factory and is taken to the infirmary after fainting. The Xana clone of Yumi, displaying unusual behavior, attacks the nurse and later behaves erratically at school. When questioned by Principal Delmas, she becomes aggressive and incapacitates him before attempting to manipulate Jeremy into allowing her to access the scanners. Meanwhile, Elida discovers a guardian guarded by Cankrolets on Lyoko, prompting her to inform Jeremy. At the factory, the group discovers Jeremy's destroyed computer, leading them to suspect the clone Yumi. Despite their suspicions, they head to Lyoko to assist Elida. However, the clone Yumi sabotages the scanners, forcing Jeremy to intervene. While Elida devises a plan to defeat the guardian, Jeremy confronts the clone Yumi in the scanner room. On Lyoko, Elida creates a clone of Yumi to confuse the guardian, allowing the real Yumi to be freed. Back at the factory, Jeremy battles the clone Yumi, eventually pushing her into the supercomputer room. Elida deactivates the tower, causing the clone Yumi to vanish and triggers a return to the past. A screening of a science fiction movie, Academic Academy, brings out varied reactions from the students. Jeremy expresses concern about the potential exposure of the supercomputer due to the filming of another movie nearby. Ulrich volunteers to talk to the director, James Finson, to assess the situation. Meanwhile, Sissy tries to impress Finson in hopes of securing a role in his film, but is rejected. Ulrich approaches Finson and offers to serve as a technical advisor due to his familiarity with the factory. Finson agrees and asks Ulrich to join the production, prompting Sissy to manipulate Ulrich into securing her a part as well. As filming begins at the factory, Ulrich and Sissy are isolated from the outside world. They encounter the creature designed for the movie, but their situation takes a dangerous turn when Xana possesses the alien prop, leading to a perilous encounter. Yumi, Jeremy, and Odd mount a rescue mission, sneaking into the factory to save Ulrich and Sissy. On Lyoko, Odd assists Elida in navigating the dangers posed by Xana's creatures as they strive to reach the activated tower. Back in the real world, Ulrich and Yumi struggle against the possessed alien, while Sissy remains in shock. On Lyoko, Elida must choose the correct tower to deactivate to stop Xana's attack. Despite facing setbacks, they ultimately succeed in deactivating the tower and triggering a return to the past. In the reset timeline, Ulrich prevents Finson from filming at the factory, averting the danger of exposure. The episode concludes with Finson's frustration over the sudden change of plans, unaware of the potential catastrophe they narrowly avoided. 2 Hornets are guarding an activated tower in Lyoko's ice sector. Meanwhile, in Mrs. Hertz's class, the students are learning about neutrons when suddenly all their cell phones ring simultaneously. Mrs. Hertz confiscates the phones, and Principal Delmas orders Jim to disable the school antenna, cutting off cell phone service. Jeremy suspects Xana's involvement and investigates, while Ulrich and Odd sneak into the teacher's lounge to retrieve the confiscated phones. Despite a close call with a teacher, they succeed in retrieving the phones. Jeremy discovers that Xana has jammed cell phone frequencies to gain control of a military satellite. With Yumi stuck in Principal Delma's office, unable to warn the others, Jeremy sends Kiwi with a message to meet outside. As the boys leave to check the school antenna, Sissy organizes a protest against the cell phone confiscations. Yumi, unable to leave, joins the protest, while Jeremy, Ulrich, and Odd head to the factory to stop Xana. On Lyoko, they face Hornets guarding the tower. Odd distracts the Hornets while Ulrich and Alita head towards the tower. Meanwhile, Jeremy discovers that the satellite is targeting Yumi. At the school gates, Principal Delmas confronts the protesters, leading to Yumi's suspension. As Yumi and Odd narrowly escape the satellite's laser, Alita deactivates the tower, saving Yumi. With the crisis averted, Jeremy activates a return to the past, resetting the day. Jeremy is continuously struggling with Alita's materialization program, and despite his failure, she encourages him. Meanwhile, a mysterious noise startles Alita in the mountain sector. Ulrich and Yumi unveil a family heirloom, a samurai armor, while being secretly filmed by Millie and Tamiya. In class, Jeremy is stunned by the resemblance of the new student Talia to Alita. He becomes convinced that Talia is Alita, causing tension among his friends. Yumi's samurai armor disappears, suggesting Xana's involvement. Jeremy confronts Talia about her identity but fails to convince her. Xana, possessing the armor, attacks Jeremy and Talia. In the lab, Jeremy shows Talia Lyoko, but she leaves to inform the authorities. On Lyoko, Odd and Ulrich rescue Alita from a guardian. Yumi faces off against the possessed samurai armor. Alita deactivates the tower, saving Yumi, and Jeremy activates a return to the past to correct his mistake. Rats in Caddick's sewer system become infected by Xana and attack the school. Meanwhile, Jeremy faces the threat of being transferred to a school for gifted students due to his high IQ. Therefore, the gang devises a plan to help Jeremy intentionally fail a test. As the attack unfolds, the school is overrun by rats, forcing the students to take refuge on the cafeteria roof. Yumi, Ulrich, and Odd navigate through the chaos to reach the factory. On Lyoko, they rescue Alita from crabs, but Ulrich gets devirtualized. Yumi destroys the remaining crab and brings Alita to the tower, deactivating it. Jeremy initiates a return to the past. In the aftermath, the gang discusses Jeremy's plan to fail the tests, with Odd jokingly suggesting he'll provide the answers. A hornet becomes possessed by Xana and infects its swarm, posing a threat to the school. Ulrich receives a love letter he mistakenly believes is from Yumi. As the gang deals with a hornet attack, Odd spreads rumors about the letter's sender, leading to conflict with Emily. Ulrich and Yumi fend off the hornets while Jeremy and Odd confront them in the sewers. Jeremy creates a robot to repel the hornets, but it malfunctions, forcing them to go to Lyoko. On Lyoko, Odd and Yumi battle the hornets, while Ulrich initially struggles but ultimately helps protect Alita. After a return to the past, Ulrich intercepts the letter before Sissy can deliver it, avoiding the confusion. Jeremy successfully materializes a single hair belonging to Alita, marking progress towards her full materialization. However, he accidentally damages the Annex program, putting Alita at risk of being deleted if she enters a tower on Lyoko. As Jeremy works to fix the program, strange occurrences begin at Caddick, with Kiwi sensing Xana's attack through ultrasound vibrations. The school starts to collapse, trapping Odd, Millie, and Tamiya. Ulrich and Alita head to Lyoko to deactivate the tower, while Yumi rushes to help at Caddick. Despite their efforts, Alita decides to sacrifice herself to save the others by deactivating the tower, but she is later restored using the materialized hair. The team celebrates their victory, but Xana's threat persists. Jeremy is celebrating Alita's first birthday, marking the anniversary of their friendship. Meanwhile, Jim's yelling prompts Jeremy to stop working and head to bed to avoid being caught up in any trouble. The next day, Jeremy and Odd encounter a dangerous situation at the factory when Xana takes control of the machines, forcing them to navigate a perilous path to reach safety. On Lyoko, Alita faces off against a crab while trying to reach a tower activated by Xana later. Ulrich, Yumi, and Sissy find themselves trapped in a malfunctioning elevator, leading to a life-threatening situation as water begins to flood the lift. Meanwhile, Odd and Yumi battle crabs on Lyoko, but are quickly devirtualized, leaving Alita to confront the final crab alone and deactivate the tower just in time. Then, Jeremy initiates a return to the past to undo the events, and the group celebrates Alita's birthday in Jeremy's dorm room, with even Sissy joining in after witnessing Ulrich's kindness. In science class, Mrs. Hertz discusses nitrous oxide, or laughing gas, cautioning about its dangers if not neutralized quickly with water. Meanwhile, Yumi's been down for days and even Ulrich can't cheer her up. Determined to help, Ulrich visits Yumi at home, offering a rose and learning about her parents' troubles. During the school play rehearsal, Xana possesses the laughing gas, causing chaos. Sissy, unaware of the gas influence, scolds Odd. The group realizes Xana's involvement when they find empty gas cans. Ulrich uses the play Romeo and Juliet to reunite Yumi's parents. Reluctantly playing Romeo, Ulrich persuades Yumi to join despite her dislike for the guard role. Jeremy and Odd head to the factory while Elida faces blocks on Lyoko. At the play, the gas attacks Ulrich, Yumi, and the audience. On Lyoko, Odd weakens as Elida navigates a labyrinth to deactivate the tower. With Odd's guidance, Elida succeeds, stopping the gas effects. After a reset, Yumi avoids the play until Jeremy devises a plan. Yumi assists Ulrich backstage, prompting laughter from the audience, including her parents, reuniting them. Jeremy is discussing the necessity of rest with Elida. Meanwhile, Odd and Ulrich excel in soccer, prompting Yumi's early departure. Theo, a newcomer, joins the game, sparking Herb's jealousy due to his interest in Sissy. Elida shifts sectors to aid Jeremy with her materialization program data. In soccer, Theo's team claims victory, infuriating Herb, who storms off. At dinner, tensions rise as Herb sets an initiation task for Theo, who later discovers Herb and Nicholas spying on him. Xana traps students in an electrified cafeteria. Jeremy and Yumi evade the danger by skipping dessert. Ulrich alerts Jeremy about the threat, leading to a realization that Xana's aim is to trap the Lyoko warriors. Yumi and Elida navigate Lyoko's paths, facing Xana's tricks. In the cafeteria, makeshift measures prevent disaster as Herb overcomes his claustrophobia. Yumi sacrifices herself to save Elida from crabs, allowing Elida to reach the tower and deactivate it. After a reset, tensions ease between Herb and Theo. Ulrich's plans to escort Yumi home are thwarted by Theo's offer, leaving Ulrich disgruntled. As the day ends with soccer, Odd and Ulrich score once more. Theo offers to accompany Yumi, and Nicholas kicks the ball as peace settles among the group. Xana manipulates nanobots in the school's science lab, infecting them with an amnesia-inducing virus. Ulrich unknowingly becomes the first victim during a class demonstration. Sissy capitalizes on his memory loss, convincing him she's his girlfriend and his friends are enemies. Concerned, the group investigates and discovers the nanobots. Realizing Xana's plan, they decide to deactivate the tower, causing the epidemic, excluding Ulrich from the mission due to his amnesia. Meanwhile, Ulrich experiences fragmented memories, triggering emotions. As the team splits up on Lyoko, Ulrich instinctively heads to the factory, guided by flashes of memory. Reluctantly, Jeremy sends him to Lyoko, sensing his importance. On Lyoko, Ulrich joins Odd in battling Xana's monsters, believing it's all a game. They defend Elida as she deactivates the tower, ending the crisis. After a return to the past, Ulrich disposes of the remaining infected gel, preventing further outbreaks, unbeknownst to Mrs. Hertz. The group then shares a knowing laugh, relieved by their victory. Odd is listening to a strange song, Glad When You're Bad, that causes him to faint. Ulrich and Jeremy rush him to the hospital as more people fall unconscious from the same music. They realize Xana is behind it, using the song to attack via auditory nerves. Yumi discovers Sissy in a coma, confirming their suspicions. At the factory, Ulrich fights blocks on Lyoko, while Jeremy and Yumi combat Xana's music on Earth. Despite efforts, Jeremy falls unconscious, leaving Ulrich and Elida to face the remaining threats. Ulrich sacrifices himself to protect the girls, getting devirtualized. Meanwhile, Odd's condition worsens at the hospital. On Lyoko, Elida reaches the tower just as Odd's life hangs in the balance. The return in time saves everyone, and they realize Xana orchestrated the entire ordeal. They end by downloading the new song, Under My Cover, hinting at Xana's continuing schemes. Jeremy and Elida argue over a failed program, leaving him feeling guilty. He decides to apologize to her on Lyoko. However, Yumi reluctantly virtualizes Jeremy, but he gets stuck in the virtual limbo. Elida informs the group and sets out to collect data from Way Towers to rescue Jeremy. She succeeds in the ice, desert, and forest sectors, but faces trouble in the mountain sector due to Xana's interference. Ulrich tries to help Yumi avoid trouble with teachers while Odd plays Tetris. Yumi's absence leads to suspicion, but Ulrich persuades Sissy to intervene. After Yumi's return, she and Ulrich help Elida on Lyoko, ultimately rescuing Jeremy. Upon waking, Jeremy feels positive about his experience. Meanwhile, Ulrich faces Yumi's doubts about his relationship with Sissy, leading to tension between them. Jeremy and Elida reconcile, but Ulrich struggles to convince Yumi of his innocence. A science class discusses titanium's use by NASA, continuing into the upcoming robot competition. Xana manipulates factory machines to create a robot and hacks into Cadix's network to steal the Lyoko warriors' data. Herb unveils his Iron Sissy robot, irking Sissy, while Jeremy presents Kiwi 2. The competition's climax, a basketball game, turns chaotic when Iron Sissy cheats, causing Kiwi 2's demise. Jeremy investigates the malfunction, discovering foul play. Suddenly, a massive robot attacks, sending Jeremy and the gang scrambling. Yumi and Ulrich lure Herb into helping by building a robot to counter Xana's creation. In the real world, their plan succeeds, stopping the rogue robot. On Lyoko, Odd and Elida battle Xana's forces. With teamwork, they reach the activated tower just as Ulrich faces peril in the real world. A return to the past resets the competition, allowing Jeremy to outsmart Herb's cheating, earning QE2 victory. The Caddick football team prepares for a crucial match with Ulrich showcasing his skills as a striker. Meanwhile, Sissy's baton mysteriously defies gravity, and Yumi experiences a similar phenomenon with street lamps flickering. Suspicious, the group convenes, discovering an activated tower in the mountain sector. Jeremy reveals Xana's plan to manipulate the school's magnetic fields, endangering everyone. Despite the urgency, Ulrich opts to prioritize the football match due to familial pressures. The team heads to the game as Jeremy and the others race to the factory to thwart Xana. Upon discovering Xana's scheme to disrupt the city's power grid, Jeremy launches a countermeasure while urging Ulrich to intervene at the school. With Odd and Yumi on Lyoko, they confront Xana's forces as Ulrich rushes to save Mrs. Hertz from the school's anti-gravity effects. As chaos ensues both in the real world and on Lyoko, Alita makes a daring move to reach the tower amid fierce opposition. With Jeremy's program and Alita's bravery, they avert disaster just as Ulrich struggles to protect his family from being swept away. Ultimately, Jeremy initiates a return to the past, rescuing everyone from Xana's grasp. The team successfully destroys another Xana attack, but Ulrich grows weary of the constant battles and the uncertainty of his relationship with Yumi. He confides in Odd about his feelings but finds him asleep. Later, Ulrich encounters a girl named Emily, sparking jealousy in Yumi. Sissy fuels the discord by lying to Yumi about Ulrich dating Emily, causing a rift between them. Xana activates a tower, prompting Jeremy to send Ulrich and Yumi to Lyoko despite their conflict. On Lyoko, Alita uncovers Xana's virus, which threatens the group's avatars with permanent deletion upon defeat. Meanwhile, Jeremy discovers the sabotage and tries to fix it, but gets trapped in the scanner room. Facing formidable enemies, the group struggles on Lyoko. Yumi's life is endangered, but Ulrich saves her, leading to a moment of intimacy interrupted by Alita's tower entry for a return to the past. In the reset timeline, Yumi confronts her feelings and sees through Sissy's deception. Ulrich and Yumi agree to keep their near kiss a secret, hinting at deeper feelings between them. Jeremy is experiencing connection issues to Lyoko during recess. Yumi plans a party at her house, while Ulrich, Odd, and Jeremy play around in the dormitory corridor until Jim reprimands them. Meanwhile, Odd arranges for his crush, Sam, to DJ at the party. Jeremy eventually fixes the connection problem, but Sam gets trapped in the computer lab when Jim mistakenly locks her inside, suspecting Odd of theft. Xana activates a tower in the mountain sector, causing the ground to become gelatinous and sink, threatening to swallow the academy buildings. Yumi rushes to the factory as Ulrich and Odd try to rescue Sam from the sinking computer lab. They manage to save her with Jeremy's help, but face Xana's attacks on Lyoko. Alita deactivates the tower, saving the academy from disaster. In the end, Jeremy helps Sam achieve her goal without stealing, and they prepare for the party. The Lyoko warriors are fighting in the ice sector, trying to get Alita to a tower after defeating some blocks. Odd's celebratory dance is interrupted when a block sneaks up on him, leading to a brief scuffle. Odd's careless comment offends his friends, especially Jeremy, who initiates a return to the past. After the return, Jeremy notices that Odd, Ulrich, and Yumi are missing from their classes and rooms. In a strange parallel world, Odd apologizes to Jeremy, who seems sullen. Jeremy, panicked about his friend's disappearance, seeks help from Alita, who suggests hacking into the school's systems to find them. Meanwhile, odd events unfold at Caddick, including repeating actions and disappearing classmates. Yumi becomes suspicious of Jeremy's behavior, prompting Jeremy to realize that Xana has trapped their friends in a virtual world. With determination, Jeremy decides to enter the virtual world to rescue them, despite Alita's concerns. As Jeremy navigates the virtual Caddick, facing zombie-like versions of their friends, Alita searches for the simulation bubble. Meanwhile, on Earth, Odd, Ulrich, and Yumi discover Jeremy's strange behavior and confront Xana Jeremy in the virtual lab. The real Jeremy arrives in the fake lab, revealing Xana's plan to eliminate them. A confrontation ensues between the two Jeremys, with the real one proving his identity. Xana transforms into a monstrous version of Jeremy, unleashing attacks on the group. Alita destroys the simulation bubble, freeing Jeremy and disrupting the virtual world. Back in the real world, the group faces a swarm of blocks, which they happily confront after their ordeal. Jeremy stays up late to run 5 dry runs on Alita's materialization program, all of which are successful. The next morning, Yumi informs her parents that Alita, under the guise of her Japanese pen pal Alita Lyoko, will be staying with them, and her parents approve. Meanwhile, Odd and Ulrich successfully enroll Alita at Caddick Academy with a forged recommendation letter, despite Jim's suspicions. Jeremy excitedly announces the completion of the materialization program to his friends, but Jim catches them in the act. Principal Delmas intervenes, scolding Jim for his paranoia and instructing him to leave the group alone. However, when Jeremy attempts to materialize Alita on Lyoko, he realizes he has the wrong CD. As he rushes to retrieve the correct one, he breaks his ankle in a chase with Jim, who is subsequently fired for his actions. Feeling guilty, Jim apologizes to Jeremy and agrees to help him return to the factory so they can rescue the others. Meanwhile, on Lyoko, Ulrich, Yumi, and Odd fend off an attack by a megatank while waiting for Jeremy. Despite the chaos, Jeremy manages to load the materialization program just in time. Alita stands on the platform as the program activates, successfully materializing her to Earth for the first time. As Alita opens her eyes and sees Jeremy and the others, Jeremy warmly welcomes her, marking her official arrival on Earth with the words, "Welcome to Earth." Alita successfully transitions to life on Earth and attends her first class, feeling nervous about her lack of knowledge in history. The guys offer support, causing Sissy to grow jealous. Later, they decide to turn off the supercomputer, only to find Alita has been linked to it by a virus. Jeremy begins a search for an antivirus while walking Alita home. They share a memorable moment, even stopping at a photo booth. At school, they discover Cankrelats unleashed by Xana. Ulrich and Yumi stay to protect the school while Jeremy, Odd, and Alita head to the factory. They deactivate the tower, but are attacked by hornets. With teamwork, they succeed and return to the past. Jeremy plans to permanently materialize Alita, but she refuses due to the virus. Meanwhile, the group avoids trouble with Jim. Jeremy's new vehicles and tower scanning program aid the group's fight against Dana, allowing Alita to live on Earth permanently. During a class field trip, Ulrich's jealousy over Yumi partnering with William, a new student, grows. Meanwhile, Alita experiences unsettling visions in the woods, eventually finding refuge in the Hermitage, where Xana traps the group. As they struggle to escape, Alita's premonitions guide them to safety. In the face of danger, Ulrich questions Yumi's relationship with William as they risk their lives in a boiling boiler room. Alita and Odd succeed in deactivating the tower, triggering a return to the past just before Ulrich and Yumi are endangered. Despite the reset, tensions persist between Ulrich, Yumi, and William. Jeremy gives Alita a cell phone for communication, marking her integration into normal life and signaling a new chapter for the Lyoko warriors. Alita's recurring nightmare troubles her as Jeremy investigates the Hermitage, linking it to Franz Hopper. Sissy's cruel prank humiliates Alita, leading her to flee into the woods. Meanwhile, Jeremy, Ulrich, and Odd confirm Hopper's connection to the house and find significant notes in a book. Alita struggles at school and faces Sissy's bullying, prompting her forced escape. Concerned for Alita's safety, the group rushes to the factory, realizing she's on Lyoko. On Lyoko, Alita faces peril from blocks and the Syphozoa. Jeremy discovers a new sector, Sector 5, and successfully brings the group there to save Alita. Returning to Earth, Alita stands up to Sissy, showing newfound strength. Despite the ordeal, they agree to further investigate Sector 5 before returning. As the Lyoko warriors grow weary of constant battles on Lyoko, Jeremy refuses an exploratory trip to Sector 5. Yumi is forced to abstain from Lyoko due to parental suspicion, leaving the others to explore the new sector alone. Despite warnings of danger, they venture into Sector 5 and become ensnared in its traps. Alita's life points are drained by creepers, while Ulrich and Odd face devirtualization, leaving them stranded in limbo. Jeremy and Alita scramble to find a solution as panic sets in. Yumi is reluctantly called back to the factory to assist, risking further parental ire. Meanwhile, her absence raises alarms, prompting a search led by her concerned parents and school staff. On Lyoko, Alita faces the Syphozoa's assault until Yumi arrives to deactivate Sector 5's countdown. With Alita's discovery of Xana's data interface, they locate devirtualization codes to rescue Ulrich and Odd. After a successful mission, they face repercussions from their concerned guardians, prompting Jeremy to enact a return to the past. Yumi evades her parents' inquiries with a mysterious excuse, leaving her friends puzzled yet supportive. In Sector 5, Alita accesses Xana's data, but Jeremy interrupts due to the imminent threat of mantas. They escape after Ulrich's heroics and retrieve valuable data for an antivirus. Back at Caddick, Sissy spies on Jeremy and Alita, recording their conversation. The next day, tensions rise as Sissy threatens to expose their secret. Jeremy, Odd, and Ulrich attempt to retrieve the tape but are thwarted by Sissy. A return trip to the past offers them another chance, and they try to outsmart Sissy but fail. However, Jeremy realizes that Xana has manipulated the return function. In subsequent attempts, they face Xana's control over Sissy and repeated confrontations with Hornets on Lyoko. Ultimately, they thwart Xana's plans, but Jeremy discovers the risks of frequent time jumps. The team resolves to be more cautious, knowing that their battles will only intensify. Alita's nightmares of a small elf being chased by wolves lead the team back to the Hermitage, where she discovers a doll named Mr. Puck. Sissy taunts Alita and takes the doll, revealing a key hidden inside. The key unlocks a railway locker containing Franz Hopper's encrypted diary. Xana attempts to possess Odd, Ulrich, and Jeremy, but fails to fully control them. However, Jeremy is eventually possessed and destroys the diary CDs. He kidnaps Alita, but the team manages to rescue her and deactivate the tower on Lyoko. Jeremy reveals he made copies of the diary, safeguarding the information. They speculate on their resistance to Xana's possession, attributing it to their experience fighting on Lyoko. Jeremy, after a brief stint on Lyoko, decides to focus on the lab. The episode ends with Alita peacefully asleep, holding Mr. Puck, hinting at a deeper connection to her past. St. Valentine's Day brings unexpected twists and tensions to Caddick Academy. Ulrich, caught off guard by the romantic atmosphere, hastily composes a poem for Yumi, only to witness her receiving flowers from William. Feeling jealous, Ulrich reads the poem to Sissy in an attempt to provoke Yumi, but instead she kisses William on the cheek, sparking a conflict between Ulrich and Yumi as they question each other's feelings. Meanwhile, Alita receives a mysterious necklace from a man possessed by Xana, mistaking it as a gift from Jeremy. Confused and suspicious, Jeremy accuses Odd of being the sender, straining their friendship. As Alita wears the necklace, it takes control of her and leads her to the Syphozoa's clutches. Fortunately, Odd intervenes just in time, rescuing Alita by threatening to destroy the necklace. Ulrich and Odd find themselves at odds as they navigate through a series of challenges. It all starts with Ulrich's dedication to studying for their upcoming science final, while Odd is more focused on immediate gratification, like snacks and party plans. When Sissy brings news of a party approval, Odd's excitement leads him to seek Jeremy's help to fix a broken mixing board. Alita steps in to assist, showcasing her surprising talents to the amazement of William and Odd. However, tensions rise when Jeremy dismisses Alita's desire to DJ at the party, sparking a heated argument. Meanwhile, during the science final, Odd's carefree attitude contrasts with the seriousness of the exam, resulting in a creative paper swan submission that earns praise from Jim. But Jim's possession by Xana sets off a chain of events leading to Alita's abduction to Lyoko. As the gang races to save Alita, they face off against Xana-controlled Jim and his menacing powers. Despite setbacks, including Yumi's devirtualization and Jeremy's struggle with Jim, Ulrich and Odd manage to reach Alita and confront the Syphozoa. With teamwork and determination, they deactivate the tower, averting disaster once again. Ultimately, a return to the past resets the timeline, offering a chance for a fresh start. At the factory, the team awaits Yumi's late arrival for a Sector 5 mission. Ulrich's jealousy flares when Odd teases about Yumi and William. They clash when Ulrich accuses her of being with William. Meanwhile, Yumi faces the Syphozoa's attack on Lyoko, leaving her stranded. Jeremy tries to rematerialize her but fails due to her stolen DNA code sequence. Yumi worries about missing picture day, so the team devises a plan involving Sissy to cover for her. Jeremy discovers that the Syphozoa stole Yumi's DNA code sequence. Ulrich convinces Sissy to pose as Yumi for the photo. Alita sacrifices herself by transferring her DNA to Yumi, risking her memories. Meanwhile, Ulrich sneaks into Yumi's house to retrieve her dress. The team rushes to stop Alita's transfer. They succeed, but Yumi is struck down by a manta. Thankfully, Jeremy restores Yumi to Earth safely. Sissy takes the blame for Yumi's absence, prompting a surprising act of gratitude from Yumi. Odd remains suspicious of Sissy's motives, while Alita theorizes about her true nature. Jeremy concludes with a grim assessment of Xana's schemes, leaving the team to reflect on the chaotic events. Ulrich is feeling left out as his friends comfort a saddened Yumi. Later, he learns about Yumi's family possibly moving back to Japan due to her father losing his job. Ulrich desperately tries to find a way to keep Yumi at Caddick, even resorting to buying a lottery ticket with the hope of winning enough money to help her family. After the Ishiyama family wins the lottery with a ticket Ulrich gave them, Yumi discovers his involvement and confronts him. The group kicks Ulrich out until he can explain his actions. Meanwhile, Xana possesses Nicholas and attacks the group in the factory. Ulrich traps Nicholas in the elevator to protect Jeremy. On Lyoko, the team faces a swarm of crabs controlled by Xana. Ulrich apologizes to Jeremy and is virtualized to Lyoko to help defeat the crabs. They successfully deactivate the tower, saving Nicholas and stopping Xana's attack. Afterwards, Ulrich decides to donate the lottery prize money to an African well-building organization. Yumi learns her family won't be moving after all, and the group reconciles with Ulrich, welcoming him back into the fold. The day begins with Mrs. Hertz's class learning about ants and their collective intelligence. Jeremy connects this to his research on multi-agent systems, similar to the behavior of ants, but his excitement is dampened by Odd's dismissive attitude. Despite Jeremy's attempt to involve the group in his discovery, they all have other plans after lunch. Jeremy works alone at the factory on his new program, while Yumi and Ulrich reluctantly go to the swimming pool. Ulrich's attempt to impress Yumi fails miserably, leading to a rescue by William and embarrassment for Ulrich. Meanwhile, Jeremy successfully creates the Marabunta program inspired by Franz Hopper's theories. At the pool, Yumi tries to encourage Ulrich to help Jeremy, but he remains sulky and refuses. Back at the factory, Jeremy launches the Marabunta program on Lyoko, with Odd and Elida as testers. Initially successful, the program goes haywire when Elida's virus causes it to turn against them. As the Marabunta threatens to consume Lyoko, Jeremy struggles to find a solution. Yumi convinces Ulrich to join the fight, and together they help defeat the Marabunta. Odd delivers the final blow with a well-aimed shot, destroying the threat. However, Jeremy is left feeling frustrated by the lack of support from his friends. After the crisis is averted, the group reflects on the events of the day. In the ice sector of Lyoko, an activated tower guarded by tarantulas signals trouble. Meanwhile, on Earth, a convict named Peter Duncan becomes possessed by Xanana and wreaks havoc, causing concern for the safety of Elida and the stability of Lyoko. As Elida experiences health issues and collapses, her friends race to find a solution. A frantic visit to the hospital reveals Elida's critical condition, prompting Jeremy to take drastic action to save her and prevent Lyoko's collapse. With the supercomputer's power dwindling, Jeremy faces a race against time to recharge it and save both Elida and Lyoko. Duncan's threat looms large as Jeremy bravely confronts him, risking his life to ensure the survival of his friends and the virtual world they depend on. Despite the danger and uncertainty, the group rallies together, displaying courage and determination in the face of adversity. Their efforts culminate in a triumphant victory, securing Elida's recovery and averting catastrophe for Lyoko. The Lyoko warriors face a series of challenges both in the virtual world and in the real one. As they battle Xana's monsters on Lyoko to deactivate an activated tower, they also confront the mysterious illness plaguing Jeremy in the real world. Odd, Elida, and Yumi showcase their combat skills as they navigate through the dangers of the forest and mountain sectors, facing off against hordes of hornets and cankerlets to reach the activated towers. Meanwhile, Ulrich demonstrates his prowess with his katana, dispatching enemies with precision and agility. However, their victories on Lyoko are juxtaposed with the growing concern for Jeremy's well-being. His mysterious illness and increasingly erratic behavior raise questions among the group, leading them to uncover Jeremy's dangerous experimentation with Franz Hopper's technology. As Jeremy's condition worsens and he falls into a coma, the Lyoko warriors must work together to unravel the mysteries surrounding his illness and find a way to save him. With determination and teamwork, they navigate through both the virtual and real worlds, ultimately discovering the truth behind Jeremy's illness and preventing further harm. As Ulrich struggles to express his feelings to Yumi, he sees her with William, who is attempting the same. Feeling rejected, Ulrich leaves without hearing Yumi's response. Meanwhile, Xana activates a tower, summoning a crab. At school, a driving class ensues where William excels while Ulrich's performance is ridiculed, leading to a fight between them. Both receive detention. Upon learning of the tower, Jeremy alerts the group, prompting them to head to the factory, minus Ulrich. Simultaneously, the crab heads towards Yumi's house. At the factory, they encounter a second crab. Yumi, informed by Hiroki, rushes to her house to confront the first crab. Despite the scanner's destruction, Elida ventures to Lyoko alone, facing new obstacles. With Odd facing a third crab, Ulrich and William confront the second, and Yumi deals with the first alongside her family, while Elida maneuvers without support, using her creativity to outsmart the Cyphozoa. Xana activates a tower, causing chaos at Caddick Academy. Kibi senses danger from Xana's specter and alerts the group, but they initially dismiss it. As the day progresses, Millie and Tamiya encounter a possessed Kiwi, leading to Tamiya becoming a zombie. Panic ensues as more students fall victim. The group, led by Jeremy, rushes to the factory while Ulrich and Sissy fend off zombies. At the cafeteria, they face the growing zombie horde, with William's attempts to call for help failing. Meanwhile, Yumi sneaks to the factory and joins Jeremy and Elida. They send Elida and Yumi to Lyoko, where they face crabs guarding the tower. Back at the school, chaos escalates, with more students turning into zombies. Elida destroys a crab while Yumi sacrifices herself to help Elida reach the tower. In the factory, Jeremy confronts the zombies as they attack. Eventually, Elida deactivates the tower, triggering a return to the past, erasing the events. As they await Yumi's arrival, they reflect on the unpredictability of people's true nature, hinting at the complexities ahead. Jeremy unveils an EMP bomb to counter Xana's control despite its lack of a miniaturized version. At Caddick, Sissy stirs up jealousy by insulting Ulrich, Alida, and Jeremy. Meanwhile, Mr. Delmas, possessed by Xana, kidnaps Yumi and Odd, with William witnessing helplessly. The group races against time as they face resistance from Jim and police officers. In a warehouse, Yumi and Odd confront Mr. Delmas' chilling tactics. Back at Caddick, Jeremy and Alida enlist Sissy's help after convincing her of the danger. With minutes left, they rush to the factory. Ulrich navigates the warehouse while Elida confronts the Scyphozo on Lyoko. Ulrich disables Xana's control temporarily, allowing Elida to enter the tower and deactivate it. In the aftermath, a return to the past erases the ordeal, leaving the group reflecting on their uneventful encounter with Sissy, with Yumi feeling somewhat left out. Odd and Yumi find themselves trapped in each other's bodies due to a bug in Jeremy's materialization program. They struggle with the peculiarities of each other's lives and personalities, leading to humorous and awkward situations. As they navigate their swapped existences, they encounter misunderstandings and complications, such as Odd facing the consequences of Yumi's romantic entanglements and Yumi dealing with Odd's eccentric wardrobe choices. Meanwhile, they must contend with the physical instability caused by their swapped bodies, leading to moments of panic and uncertainty. Jeremy works tirelessly to find a solution, but time is running out as Odd and Yumi begin to disintegrate in their altered forms. Eventually, they are virtualized into Lyoko, where they must work together despite their unfamiliarity with each other's abilities and weapons. In a tense showdown in Lyoko's Sector 5, they face off against Xana's minions while racing against the clock to reboot the materialization program. Through teamwork and sacrifice, they manage to overcome the obstacles and return to their original bodies just in time. However, their ordeal is not without consequences, as their adventures in each other's lives leave lingering questions, particularly concerning Ulrich and Yumi's relationship. In the dormitory hallway, Odd, Ulrich, and Jeremy discuss Odd's dating history, revealing his exemption from dating Heidi Klinger. Sissy's failed attempt to invite Ulrich to a movie leads to Herb's awkward offer to accompany her. In the shower room, Ulrich prioritizes studying over Sissy's invitation, leading to an altercation with Herb. Meanwhile, Jeremy's impulsive kiss with Heidi causes tensions among the group, escalating as Yumi kisses Matthias in front of William. Misunderstandings ensue, with accusations flying and relationships strained. Amidst the chaos, a polymorphic specter wreaks havoc, impersonating members of the group and fueling jealousy. Jeremy's attempts to reconcile with Elida backfire, driving her away. As the specter's deception becomes clear, the group rallies to confront it. After a climactic battle on Lyoko, Elida deactivates the tower, thwarting Xana's plan. In the aftermath, humorous misunderstandings ensue, with Jim mistakenly believing Yolanda kissed him due to illness. Jeremy's unexpected kiss from Elida leaves him stunned. In the dormitory, Jeremy is jolted awake by a false superskin alert, bewildering him. The next day, excitement stirs at school as celebrity reporter Thomas TV Vincent arrives to film a documentary. Odd hopes to impress him, but is dismayed by TV's arrogance. Meanwhile, the superskin detects towers activating in Lyoko's mountain and ice sectors, prompting the Lyoko warriors to investigate. On Lyoko, they encounter minimal resistance and find the towers deactivating upon arrival. Suspecting supercomputer issues, Jeremy and Elida stay behind. Throughout the day, TV's rudeness irks students and a sudden snowstorm ensues. Seeking refuge in the school boiler room, they endure plummeting temperatures. Despite the cold, Ulrich, Yumi, and Odd journey to the factory. En route, they encounter TV, whose car accident strands them. Yumi sacrifices herself to save Ulrich, who tends to her as Odd heads to the factory. Inside, Elida insists on confronting Xana on Lyoko despite the danger. On Lyoko, Elida confronts Mantes and the Scyphozo, while Jeremy initiates a return to the past to save Yumi from succumbing to the cold. With the day reset, the group teaches TV a lesson, embarrassing him with a prank involving meatballs, ending the day on a lighter note. Elida experiences a distressing nightmare, prompting concern from Sissy and Jim. She confides in the gang about her dream involving mysterious figures at the Hermitage. Meanwhile, Odd shares his excitement about an online romance but faces distractions during a swimming lesson, delaying their investigation. Elida's visions escalate, leading her to revisit the Hermitage in search of answers. In class, Jeremy's concerns grow as Elida's visions intensify, suspecting Xana's involvement. Determined to uncover the truth, Elida ventures to Sector 5 despite Jeremy's objections. The team confronts obstacles in Sector 5, culminating in a tense confrontation with the Scyphozoa. Elida ultimately deactivates the tower, relieving her of the visions. Back at school, Elida resolves to uncover the source of her visions, while Odd discovers his online crush is Sissy. As the episode concludes, Odd's behavior perplexes Sissy, leaving him contemplative about their interaction. During 8th grade physicals at Caddick Academy, students discuss their concerns from Herb's acne to Odd's self-proclaimed svelteness. Jeremy worries about Alita's lack of medical records, fearing exposure of her non-human nature. Xana activates a tower, possessing the nurse Yolanda, who kidnaps Alita. Jeremy devises a plan to counteract Xana's possession by using his own ghost to possess Odd. In the factory, Odd fights possess Yolanda, but loses his powers when Xana gains control of the tower. Alita, Ulrich, and Yumi head to Lyoko to deactivate the tower, while Odd faces off against Yolanda. They succeed in deactivating the tower, saving Odd and defeating Xana's influence. Back at school, Sissy recounts the events, met with skepticism until Yolanda's return. The group leaves, teasing each other about imperfections, ending with Odd's insistence on his elegant status. Sissy discovers a newspaper article about a construction worker buried alive under Caddick Academy in 1905. She plans to impress Ulrich by summoning the ghost of the worker, Leon Corbett. At midnight, Sissy, Ulrich, Herb, and Nicholas gather in the boiler room for the ceremony. When they attempt to summon the ghost, a specter emerges, terrifying Sissy. Ulrich rescues her as the ghost wreaks havoc. Later, the specter attacks Jim and Odd, confirming Jeremy's suspicion that it's Xana's doing. They try to find the activated tower, but discover the super skin is bugged. Ulrich, Jeremy, and Odd defend against the ghost, while Alita and Yumi head to Lyoko to debug the super skin. Alita and Yumi end up trapped in the core zone as the floor collapses. On Earth, Ulrich and Jeremy fend off the ghost, while Odd locates the activated tower in the ice sector. On Lyoko, Alita deactivates the tower, saving Ulrich and Jeremy. They return to the lab, where Jeremy initiates a return to the past to fix the super skin. In the boiler room prank, Odd pretends to be the ghost, scaring everyone away. However, the episode ends ominously with a hint of a real ghost's presence. In the return to the past, events unfold differently, and the ghostly encounter is averted. Jeremy discovers that 5 towers have been simultaneously activated. At the factory, they encounter a man claiming to be Franz Hopper. The creator of Lyoko and Xana, Hopper promises to find an antivirus for Alita and shut down the supercomputer. However, tensions rise when Jeremy's friends blame him for their health issues due to virtualization. Jeremy's birthday is overshadowed by the group's mistrust. Meanwhile, Jeremy's father plans to transfer him to a school for gifted children, adding to Jeremy's stress. As tensions escalate, Jeremy confronts Hopper's inconsistencies and realizes he's under Xana's control. Hopper sends Odd, Ulrich, and Yumi to Sector 5, revealing upgraded weapons. Jeremy intervenes, exposing Hopper as a polymorphic clone. Hopper manipulates their avatars, putting them in danger on Lyoko. With Jeremy's help, they overcome Hopper's manipulations and defeat the threats on Lyoko. In a climactic moment, Jeremy is attacked by a specter, but Alita deactivates the tower, saving him. The next day, Jeremy decides not to transfer schools, choosing to stay and fix his friendships. Jeremy struggles to make progress on Alita's antivirus. Yumi and Ulrich encourage him, and Ulrich suggests they take a break and attend short film night at school, where Odd will be screening his original film. At short film night, Odd's movie, Natural Grandeur, parodies kaiju films and features a gigantic Sissy wreaking havoc. Sissy is embarrassed by her portrayal and stops the film abruptly. Suddenly, a specter emerges from the projector and possesses her, leading to chaos. The Lyoko warriors suspect Xana's involvement and plan to investigate. They perform a super skin but find no activated towers, leading them to believe it was a false alarm. However, Sissy, still incoherent, manages to convey a coded message to Jeremy before being taken back to the infirmary. Jeremy decodes Sissy's message, revealing it to be from Franz Hopper, who offers his help. Suspecting a third party, the group decides to speak to Sissy again. Ulrich and Alita investigate on Lyoko, discovering a mysterious white tower. Meanwhile, Odd and Yumi retrieve Sissy from the hospital. The possessed doctor attacks them, but they manage to escape to the factory. Ulrich stays to defend the white tower on Lyoko, while Yumi and Odd face the doctor. Alita heads to the ice sector to deactivate the tower, facing obstacles along the way. Ultimately, Alita deactivates the tower, ending the doctor's possession. Back in Jeremy's dorm, they listen to a message from Franz Hopper, shocking everyone, especially Alita. Alita is gathering data in Sector 5, while Yumi, Ulrich, and Odd battle Mantas. After uploading the data, they return to Earth. In the lab, Jeremy plans to decrypt Franz Hopper's diary using the new data, but they need to activate a tower for more processing power, despite the risks. At lunch, Ulrich inadvertently offends Alita by mentioning her eye status. She confides in feeling a connection to Earth. After Odd receives a mysterious text, he disappears into the woods. Jeremy alerts them to an activated tower, and they head to the factory. Odd arrives, acting strangely, and is virtualized. Jeremy detects a bug during Odd's virtualization, but they proceed to activate the tower. However, Xana sends tarantulas to attack. Jeremy realizes Odd has been possessed, while the real Odd is trapped in a well by a polymorphic clone. Ulrich battles the clone that transforms into him, creating a stalemate. Yumi finds Odd and rescues him just as Xana nearly takes control of the tower. Franz Hopper intervenes, saving the tower and allowing the decryption program to run. Back at school, Jeremy reveals that Elida is Hopper's daughter, shocking everyone. After reading Franz Hopper's diary, Jeremy discovers the truth behind the supercomputer, at least to some extent. Hopper has used it quite extensively, to the point of repeating a single day for more than 7 years. His sanity degraded throughout the experience. Hopper also revealed that he and Elida hold the keys to Lyoko, which were what Xana is after so he can escape the supercomputer. Jeremy also discovers Elida never had a virus and Xana had taken a fragment of her, which is responsible for linking her to the supercomputer. Elida is not willing to go, angry over the fact Hopper has essentially taken her life from her. She's also worried that Xana might escape, so she goes to the factory alone and shuts down the supercomputer. Jeremy rescues her, and the group goes to Lyoko to retrieve her fragment. After all their efforts, they seem to succeed, but it turns out to be a fake. Xana manages to devirtualize Elida's defenders and steal her memory, effectively killing her and allowing him to escape, which shuts down Lyoko in the process. After his escape, Franz Hopper revives Elida and Lyoko, restoring all of Elida's memories in the process, but at the price of Franz Hopper remaining permanently trapped inside the supercomputer. Through the restoration, Elida finally remembers her past up to the point that she went to Lyoko. With Xana now free and Elida's memories returned, neither are linked to the supercomputer. This means that they could shut it down, but it would do no good. Unsure of how they'll proceed, Jeremy promises that they'll find a way to stop Xana. After a 2-month hiatus, the Lyoko warriors regroup at the factory, noting Xana's silence since its escape. Jeremy's new superskin upgrade detects Xana's activity online, prompting a return to vigilance. Meanwhile, on campus, Yumi seeks a private conversation with Ulrich, but their talk is repeatedly thwarted. As Xana reappears in North America, Jeremy and Elida rush to the factory. Amid interruptions, Yumi and Ulrich finally talk, deciding to maintain a platonic friendship, much to Ulrich's dismay. Odd, discovering a schedule discrepancy planned by Jim, resorts to blackmail to be with his friends, straining their relationship. As the team confronts a surge of monsters in Sector 5, Elida showcases newfound combat skills, saving the core of Lyoko. Afterward, Jeremy realizes Elida can now be materialized without the need for code. Earth. Ulrich advises Odd to make amends with Jim, prompting Odd to apologize and secure a schedule change, restoring harmony among the friends. At 7 in the morning, Ulrich finds Odd missing from their dorm. He joins Jeremy, who's been trying to develop a way to send the team into the internet from Lyoko, without success. At school, elections are on, with Jeremy, Herb, and surprisingly Odd in the running. Simultaneously, Xana activates a tower in Lyoko's forest sector. Yumi, on a field trip, is targeted and seeks Jeremy's help. They abandon the elections. Ulrich aids Yumi in the woods, followed by William, whom Ulrich reluctantly allows to assist. Meanwhile, Odd and Elida confront tarantulas in Lyoko. Elida is ensnared by the Syphozoa, which implants her with something before leaving. Yumi and Ulrich battle the possessed mob on Earth, with William eventually subdued. Elida activates code, Xana deleting the forest sector. Jeremy saves Elida and Odd from falling into the digital sea. Back at the lab, they realize the forest sector is gone. Jeremy anticipates Xana's plan to protect the heart of Lyoko. The next day, Odd wins the class election after Jeremy withdraws to focus on finding a path to Sector 5. Lyoko warriors analyze data from Sector 5 in the lab. They return to campus and attend a nutrition-themed gym class. Odd is frustrated by the new healthy lunch menu, while Jeremy and Elida skip classes to analyze data further. They discover an activated tower in the mountain sector. Yumi joins them, leaving William behind. Meanwhile, Xana possesses the school's food, creating a monstrous entity. Ulrich, Odd, and Jim face the monster while Jeremy sends Elida and Yumi to Lyoko. On Lyoko, they encounter obstacles like rising digital sea levels. Ulrich and Odd try to reach the factory, facing the food monster. Yumi is devirtualized, prompting Jeremy to send Ulrich to search for her. Elida and Odd reach the core zone in Sector 5. Elida lowers the digital sea with Jeremy's help. They deactivate the tower, defeating the monster. Odd suggests a return to the past, ending with his hunger complaint. Odd's virtual pet, Jim Pierre, disappears overnight. Meanwhile, Jeremy's computer acts on its own, attracting the attention of government agents who suspect Jeremy of hacking the weapons manufacturer's supercomputer. As the Lyoko warriors search for Jim Pierre, they are surveyed by the agents. Jeremy detects an activated tower in Lyoko's ice sector, leading them to the factory. However, it's a trap set by Xana to lure them into Lyoko. As Jeremy tries to devirtualize them, he's arrested by the agents, but Ulrich knocks out one of them to free Jeremy. Jeremy instructs Ulrich to devirtualize the others, revealing that Xana is behind the events. A real tower activation occurs, leading to a battle on Lyoko. Jeremy initiates a return to the past to undo the damage. Afterward, it's revealed that Yumi and the others took Jean-Pierre to prevent Odd's obsession. But it ends tragically when Hiroki accidentally destroys the toy. Elita is haunted by traumatic memories of losing her father to Xana and begins having disruptive daydreams about their escape from the Hermitage. Feeling misunderstood by Jeremy, she sulks at the Hermitage until Odd finds her and apologizes on Jeremy's behalf. Elita convinces Odd to accompany her on a secret trip to Lyoko to search for signs of Franz Hopper. In the lab, Jeremy and Ulrich discuss Elita's situation and realize they should apologize to her. Suddenly, they're alerted to an activated tower in the mountain sector. Elita and Odd, already on Lyoko, reach Sector 5's core zone and defeat creepers. Jeremy discovers their location and guides Ulrich and Yumi to Sector 5. Elita, Ulrich, and Yumi defeat the monsters guarding the core. Jeremy, now more sensitive to Elita's feelings, suggests she collect data on Franz Hopper before deactivating the tower. Later, Jeremy and Elita find a fragment of Franz Hopper's DNA, suggesting he may still be alive on Lyoko. A specter possessing a crow in the park signals an activated tower. Jeremy in the shower room misses the alert. Meanwhile, Ulrich and Odd argue over who's the best on Lyoko. Ulrich hazing Johnny, who has a crush on Yumi, advising him to pester her. When the possessed crows attack, the team flees to the factory. Yumi, teaching Johnny, is attacked and seeks refuge in a shed. In the factory, they fend off possessed crows and head to Lyoko. Yumi is found unconscious and rushed to the hospital. On Lyoko, Ulrich and Odd compete, leading to Odd's devirtualization. Elita deactivates the tower, but Jeremy is attacked by crows. Elita is captured by the Syphozoa and forced to destroy the desert sector. Jeremy resets time to save Yumi. In the new timeline, Yumi confronts Ulrich, leading to an indirect apology from Johnny. Jeremy reveals Elita is the best at fighting monsters, much to Ulrich and Odd's dismay. Yumi sneaks out to the factory after Jeremy calls her. On the way, she encounters William, who annoys her with his advances. The next day, William confronts Yumi about ditching him, leading to tension between them. Meanwhile, Jeremy and Elita work on a project until they're alerted to an activated tower. Ulrich and Odd head to the factory while William tags along, unaware of their secret mission. They split up, with William fetching Yumi from the pool. At the factory, they face a possessed construction worker planting explosives. On Lyoko, Ulrich, Odd, and Elita deactivate the tower, but Elita gets captured by the Syphozoa, leading Yumi to confront her on Lyoko. Meanwhile, the group in the factory searches for the detonator. Yumi battles Elita while William successfully defuses the detonator. Yumi is devirtualized, but Elita is struck by her fan and devirtualized, ending her possession. Back in the lab, William asks to join the Lyoko warriors, but is rejected. Jeremy resets time, erasing William's memory and the explosives. Later, Ulrich reveals he voted yes to let William join, leading to speculation about the true dissenting voter, Yumi. Lyoko warriors are battling Mantas in Sector 5 while Elita collects data about Franz Hopper. Yumi gets devirtualized, leaving Odd and Ulrich to face the Mantas. They are hit by a strange red beam, causing delayed devirtualization. Back on Earth, they rush to rehearsals for a school play. During the rehearsal, Odd and Ulrich hallucinate they're on Lyoko and start attacking, leading to their hospitalization for observation. Jeremy investigates the cause, discovering Xana's interference. Yumi and Elita sneak into the hospital and convince Odd and Ulrich to return to the factory. There, they battle monsters in the ice sector while Yumi protects the core. Elita escorts the boys to a way tower, where Jeremy runs a program to restore them to normal. They then save the core from destruction by Xana, and Jeremy performs a return to the past. The episode ends with the drama teacher ironically asking for more insanity during the rehearsal. The Lyoko warriors attempt to deactivate a tower in the mountain sector. However, they experience glitches causing their avatars to freeze or teleport in front of monsters, leading to quick devirtualization. Jeremy discovers Xana possessed the groundskeeper to damage the supercomputer, causing it to malfunction. Elita fixes the supercomputer while Jeremy cleans his room, delayed by Jim's inspection. Elita replaces damaged data boards, temporarily fixing the issue. Ulrich and Odd are captured by possessed roots on their way to the factory, while Yumi is attacked in the woods. Jeremy notices pixelation intervals in the roots, aiding their escape. Ulrich and Elita face glitches on Lyoko, prompting Elita to suggest destroying the ice sector to reboot the supercomputer. Reluctantly, Jeremy agrees and Elita deactivates the tower, destroying the ice sector. The supercomputer reboots and Yumi is saved from suffocation. Later, the team discusses the necessity of direct virtualization to Sector 5, and Odd accidentally messes up Jeremy's clean room. In science class, Ms. Hertz reprimands Ulrich for poor performance, warning of possible remedial classes. At lunch, Jeremy proposes a risky program to virtualize them directly into Sector 5. Ulrich volunteers as a test subject. However, he disappears on arrival, distressing the group. Ulrich reappears as an invisible, inaudible, and incorporeal ghost-like being. He communicates through possessing Kiwi and later Jim, planning to argue against remedial classes. Meanwhile, his body is found on Lyoko, possessed by Xana, Yumi, and Elida, investigate and confront his possessed avatar, while Jeremy works to fix Ulrich. Ulrich and Jim's body persuades teachers against remedial classes, promising dance lessons to Ms. Hertz. At the Great Hall, his possessed avatar attacks the core, but Yumi, Elida, and Odd intervene. Ulrich's avatar is defeated and Jeremy merges his incorporeal form with his body, returning him to normal. Ulrich treats Jim with respect and avoids Nicholas' prank, leaving Ms. Hertz frustrated. In the mountain sector, Yumi, Ulrich, and Elida easily defeat enemies with their special abilities, leaving Odd feeling left out and jealous. Jeremy creates a new ability, teleportation for Odd, but a bug creates 2 real clones instead. The clones cause chaos at school, leading Jeremy to warn of their instability. Meanwhile, Xana activates a tower, petrifying students with smoke. Ulrich, Elida, and Yumi head to the factory, while Odd finds his clone and heads to campus. The group faces megatanks on Lyoko, while Odd and his clone evade the smoke, regrouping at the factory. They defeat the enemies and merge the clones with Elida deactivating the tower just before Jeremy initiates a return to the past. Odd declines the fixed teleportation ability, embracing his uniqueness as a Lyoko warrior. In Mr. Fumet's class, Jeremy and Ulrich receive disappointing grades, while Yumi faces consequences for her frequent tardiness. The team discusses the strain of fighting Xana on their personal lives and considers recruiting William. However, a polymorphic clone of Jeremy deceives the group, leading to chaos at school. Odd is caught cheating and attacked by the clone, while Yumi escapes her class with William's help. They gather Elida, Odd, and Yumi, and head to the factory, where the clone confronts them on Lyoko. Elida is possessed by the Cyphozoa, leading to the destruction of the mountain sector. The real Jeremy survives a fall and helps debug Odd and Yumi's avatars, while Ulrich fights the clone. Although they mourn the loss of the mountain sector, Jeremy announces he has found a way to send them directly to Sector 5. Yumi agrees to recruit William, expanding their team. William officially becomes a Lyoko warrior, followed by warnings about the dangers of Xana the next day. Odd reconnects with an old flame Sam at a skateboarding competition. Meanwhile, Elida tests a program alone in the factory and discovers Xana's attack on the core of Lyoko. With the team occupied, William is the only available member to accompany Elida to Lyoko. As Jeremy rushes to the factory, Elida and William encounter the Cyphozoa. Ignoring warnings, William gets captured and possessed. Ulrich, Yumi, and Odd rush to the factory upon receiving Ulrich's cryptic message. They arrive just as William destroys the core, leading to his possession by Xana and the destruction of Lyoko. Jeremy fails to rematerialize Franz Hopper in time, resulting in Lyoko's annihilation and the loss of William and Jeremy. However, a message from Franz Hopper indicates he is still alive somewhere on the internet, offering a glimmer of hope for the devastated team at the Hermitage. Jeremy uses a ruse to explain William's absence to Mr. Delmas. The next day, the group recreates Sector 5, but Jeremy decides to get some rest before completing the other sectors. Meanwhile, Sissy stirs up drama with a fabricated story for the school paper, while Jim forces Odd to learn dances from the film Paco, the King of Disco. William mysteriously returns and claims memory loss, but it's soon revealed he's still under Xana's control. Elida is abducted by William, prompting Jeremy to call Ulrich and Yumi to the factory. Odd, busy with dance lessons, misses the call but eventually joins the fray. On Lyoko, William's new powers pose a threat as he attempts to throw Elida into the digital sea. Despite their efforts, William escapes back into the internet, leaving the team to ponder their next move. Jeremy announces his recreation of the remaining Lyoko sectors and upgrades to the team's abilities. He fabricates an excuse for William's absence at school. Meanwhile, Jeremy creates a clone to attend school while he works in the factory. The clone surprises everyone with his confident and flirtatious demeanor. Suspecting Xana's involvement, the group contacts Jeremy, who confirms the clone's creation. On Lyoko, William attempts to seize control of the tower, leading to a struggle with Jeremy. The clone's behavior becomes erratic, and the team rushes to the factory. Yumi, Elida, and Ulrich head to Lyoko, while Odd stays to handle the clone. In a battle on Lyoko, Ulrich is devirtualized while the clone gains control of the factory's elevator. Elida discovers new wings on Lyoko, aiding Yumi. Meanwhile, the clone breaches the lab, leading to a confrontation. Elida deactivates the tower, but William endangers Yumi. Jeremy virtualizes Odd to save her, and they witness William's retreat into the digital sea. After a return to the past, the team plans to use a clone of William to maintain his cover at school. It is revealed that Chris Morales, Subdigital's drummer, is visiting Caddick for auditions. Elida plans to audition, but is persuaded by Jeremy to work on a project instead. During the auditions, Elida's absence and Odd's disappointing performance frustrate Chris. Elida, unaware of Chris' interest, plays her demo in an empty gym. Chris overhears and loves her music but misses her. Xana activates a tower as Chris is possessed by a specter. Elida rushes to find Chris but is captured. Jeremy alerts the group of the tower and Elida's absence. Ulrich and Odd deduce the possessed Chris is a clone. In the factory, the clone virtualizes Elida onto Lyoko. Jeremy and Yumi head to the factory while Ulrich and Odd are joined by Jim and Chris. On Lyoko, Yumi protects Elida while Ulrich battles William. Jeremy saves Elida from the digital sea and provides her with an overring. The group defeats William and deactivates the tower. Jeremy performs a return to the past to erase memories. Chris approaches Elida about her music, hinting Jeremy's involvement. The day starts with Ulrich waking Jeremy, who's been working tirelessly on a recovery program to free William from Xana after Jeremy discovers his breakfast has been taken. The principal announces the election of a rec room monitor, inadvertently selecting the William clone. In the factory, Jeremy launches the recovery program but faces a bug, causing the clone's personality to change drastically. Elida volunteers to fix the problem on Lyoko while the others monitor the clone. However, Elida finds herself unable to access the tower due to the bug. Meanwhile, the possessed clone attacks Yumi, prompting Jeremy to call the others to the factory. In the rec room, Jim intervenes to protect Yumi from the clone's aggression. Ulrich, Yumi, and Odd race to the factory as the clone targets Ulrich. On Lyoko, Elida confronts William, believing him freed from Xana's control until he attacks her. The group reunites in the lab just as the clone threatens Ulrich and Sissy on the school roof. With the tower deactivated, they're saved by a return to the past, ensuring Sissy becomes the rec room monitor and Jeremy vows to continue working on saving the real William. In the factory, Jeremy and Elida work on their virtual submarine, naming it Melanie after a girl from school. They inform the others they must return before 4 o'clock the next day to complete it. Elida sneaks into Jeremy's dorm for last-minute adjustments, but is caught by Jim, resulting in detention for both. Despite their efforts to avoid it, they end up in detention, preventing them from returning to the factory on time. Meanwhile, a large group of monsters led by possessed William attacks Sector 5 to destroy the submarine. Jeremy and Elida struggle to contact the others, with Jeremy resorting to Morse code to send an SOS message. Yumi deciphers it, and with the help of Hiroki and Johnny, it's Jeremy and Elida out of detention. At the factory, Odd and Ulrich defend Melanie while Yumi and Elida battle the monsters on Lyoko. Despite being outnumbered, they manage to defeat the attackers and complete the submarine just in time. Later, they name it Skidbladner, after a Viking legend, with Odd adding the nickname the Skid. They then wonder about Jim's reaction to their disappearance, only to find out he's still chasing Kiwi, oblivious to their absence. In a gym class rock climbing lesson, Jeremy struggles and falls, earning Jim's criticism. Later, during lunch, the group learns about Fire Safety, Risk, and Prevention Day, prompting them to plan a test run of the Skid during the campus evacuation exercise. They successfully dive into the digital sea but encounter a navigation system bug trapping them. Jeremy must retrieve a CD to fix it but faces obstacles during the evacuation drill. Meanwhile, in the digital sea, the Skid faces dangers including a mysterious sphere and aggressive eels. Jeremy sneaks into his dorm for the CD, encountering challenges and escapes back to the factory. He debugs the system while the others fend off threats in the digital sea. Eventually, they repair the navigation and safely return to Lyoko. In the aftermath, they discuss the digital sea's mysteries and the encounter with the sphere, theorizing its Xana-created replica. They laugh at Jeremy's rooftop escapade, highlighting the irony of his gym struggles. Odd leaves a foosball game with Ulrich to spend time with his new girlfriend Camille. Later, the Lyoko warriors gather in Jeremy's room to discuss recent Xana activity. Jeremy plans to teach Ulrich, Odd, and Yuma how to use the supercomputer, but Elida skips to compete in a DJ contest's final round. During a lesson, a polymorphic specter attacks Jeremy, and Yumi and Ulrich must fend for themselves. Yumi realizes the specter's target is Elida and leaves to protect her. Meanwhile, Odd battles monsters in the ice sector, struggling to find a way to tower. Elida notices the specter at her audition and escapes with Yumi's help. Ulrich accidentally triggers a countdown to virtualize into the mountain sector. Elida and Yumi reach the factory, where they encounter the specter controlling a car. Odd discovers the way to the tower and guides Elida onto Lyoko. On Lyoko, Ulrich, Elida, and Odd face William and Krabs guarding the tower. Meanwhile, the specter attacks Yumi in the lab, prompting Odd's intervention. Ulrich battles William while Odd assists Yumi in the lab. Yumi is sent to Lyoko, and Ulrich defeats William, allowing Elida to deactivate the tower and save Odd from the specter. They revive Jeremy and later celebrate Elida's success with the subdigitals. After a spat between Odd and Elida causes both to receive detention, they continue to bicker, which frustrates the rest of the group. Despite their tensions, they embark on a mission to explore a new virtual world in the digital sea. Nicholas and Herb, curious about Odd and Elita's late-night activities, follow them to the factory. In the virtual world, Odd and Elita reconcile just before they're attacked by megatanks. Jeremy struggles to handle both the mission and distracting Nicholas and Herb, who are dangerously close to discovering the supercomputer. Elita and Odd fend off the attackers, but Odd nearly falls into the digital sea before being devirtualized. Back at the factory, Elita and Odd stage a dramatic scene to mislead Nicholas and Herb about their activities. After resolving the crisis, the team discusses the implications of Xana's replicas. Although Jeremy worries about the new threats, the team remains determined to defeat Xana. The next day, Odd and Elita dispel rumors of romance by staging an argument in front of others, maintaining their cover. Jeremy leads the group through a training session in the woods, aiming to boost their physical prowess for Lyoko battles. However, his methods come off as overbearing, leading to resentment among his friends. In an attempt to improve their training, they enlist Jim's help, who eagerly uses his military experience to whip them into shape. During a training exercise, the group encounters a possessed wild boar, and Jim sacrifices himself to protect Jeremy. While Ulrich distracts the boar, Jeremy tends to Jim's injuries and urges the others to head to the factory to deactivate a tower Xana has activated. At the factory, Elita, Odd, Yumi, and Ulrich split up to handle different tasks. Elita and Ulrich face challenges in the forest sector, including an invisible tower, while Odd and Yumi confront William in Sector 5. Despite setbacks, they manage to succeed in their missions. Back in the woods, Jeremy and Jim evade the boar's attacks, with Jim ultimately risking himself to save Jeremy. Meanwhile, Elita's discovery of the invisible tower leads to its deactivation, ending the boar's possession. In the aftermath, Jim reveals his injuries are not severe, and Jeremy surprises everyone by admitting he actually enjoys the training. Despite the challenges, the group emerges stronger and more unified, ready to face whatever challenges Xana throws their way. As a comet approaches Earth, Xana seizes a military satellite to split, aiming the fragments at the factory. Elita, Odd, and Ulrich are trapped in the digital sea by Xana's firewall. Meanwhile, Yumi leads school evacuation efforts. Jeremy directs her to use his laptop to access the military satellite, aided by Hiroki and Johnny. However, Xana thwarts their attempts. Elita decides to test Xana's priorities, having Odd devirtualize her. Confirming her theory, Xana prioritizes capturing Elita over the comet's destruction, halting the attack. This quick thinking averts disaster, showing the Lyoko warriors' adaptability in countering Xana's threats. The 9th grade class at Caddick Academy embarks on a camping trip, supervised by Jim and Ms. Hertz. Jeremy frets over Xana's potential attacks, especially without a signal to monitor Lyoko. Elita coordinates with Yumi, who's stuck at school, to monitor the supercomputer during the trip. However, a specter disrupts the trip, injuring students and staff. Jeremy and Elita devise a plan. Jeremy contacts Yumi, while the others try to escape the island. Yumi discovers a tower activated in the ice sector, prompting her to intervene on Lyoko. As chaos ensues, Elita strengthens the shields and defeats the Spectre, ultimately resetting time to prevent the incident. In the new timeline, the camping trip proceeds smoothly, showcasing the team's resilience and unity in the face of Xana's threats. In the morning at Caddick, Ulrich, Elita, Odd, and Jeremy discuss Hiroki's crush on Millie. Jeremy introduces a program to search for William in the digital sea. Later, Hiroki steals Yumi's diary to impress Millie, but Yumi catches him. Odd and Ulrich inadvertently get involved when Hiroki loses the diary while fleeing from Yumi. Ulrich finds the diary but refrains from reading it, respecting Yumi's privacy. After failed attempts to reconcile with Yumi, Ulrich devises a plan to help Hiroki redeem himself. However, when Hiroki finds the diary, its pages are missing, causing more tension. Meanwhile, in the digital sea, Yumi's nav skid is damaged and she faces perilous situations. Jeremy and Elita work to repair the skid's sonar, while Ulrich and Odd search for Yumi. They eventually locate her and rescue her from an imminent threat, reaffirming their determination to save William. Later, Yumi reconciles with Hiroki, and Ulrich discreetly returns the missing pages to her, bringing closure to the day's events. In the cafeteria, Jeremy announces a plan to materialize the team onto Earth from a nearby replica. Ulrich, Odd, Elita, and Jeremy inform Yumi, who seems distant. Ulrich realizes he forgot Yumi's birthday, and Odd offers to buy her a gift. At the factory, Odd discreetly hands Ulrich the gift. They journey to the forest replica, where Elita and Odd are materialized on Earth. Meanwhile, Ulrich tries to apologize to Yumi, but she remains upset. On Earth, Elita and Odd infiltrate a laboratory guarded by Xana-possessed scientists. On the replica, Yumi and Ulrich face off against William and tarantulas. Elita and Odd discover a force field protecting the supercomputer. Despite their efforts, William severs the skid from the tower, forcing them back to the replica. Returning to the lab, the team discusses the mission's failure. Ulrich presents Yumi with the gift and she forgives him. Elita is saddened by her forgotten birthday. Later, Odd realizes he gave Yumi the wrong gift and she receives Kiwi's toy instead. In the laboratory, Yumi and Ulrich face robotic spiders cornered in a hallway. Flashbacks reveal the events leading up to this moment. Jim's failed vaulting lesson leads to Odd's detention for mocking him. Odd bets he can go 24 hours without bragging. The team plans to return to the Amazon laboratory to destroy the supercomputer. On Lyoko, Yumi and Ulrich head to the laboratory while Elida and Odd guard the skid. They struggle to disable the supercomputer's security. On the replica, Elida and Odd battle William and Hornets at a tower. Ulrich destroys a generator but triggers a backup, reactivating the supercomputer. Yumi and Ulrich encounter spiders and flee. Elida heads to deactivate the tower. William returns and Odd challenges him. Jeremy finds the backup generator and Odd defeats the spiders, destroying the supercomputer. Odd admits to being a braggart, losing his bet with Ulrich. In the boys' locker room, Odd realizes he forgot socks, but Kiwi brings some, delighting Odd. Meanwhile, at the track, Sissy suspects William clones Odd behavior. At lunch, the group discusses the clone's issues. Jeremy updates the tower security and Odd sneaks Kiwi into the factory. Sissy confronts the clone, but Yumi distracts her. On Lyoko, Odd's canine behavior emerges, worrying the team. Jeremy realizes Odd absorbed Kiwi's DNA. Yumi stays with the clone while the team returns to fix Odd. At the factory, the group encounters a biker gang. Odd's behavior scares them, allowing the group to enter. Jeremy separates Odd and Kiwi's DNA. On Lyoko, Alita and Ulrich face William in a tower in the ice sector. Odd battles blocks in the mountain sector. Yumi heads to the factory but faces the possessed bikers. In the ice sector, William threatens Alita, but Odd intervenes. Elida deactivates the tower, saving Yumi. The bikers flee, thinking Kiwi is rabid. The next day, the team handles the aftermath, with Odd still exhibiting Kiwi's senses. In the cafeteria, Odd and Alita's food antics lead to William clone's detention, sparking concern from Jeremy about his behavior. He announces a new replica detection, and the team plans to explore it. Elida feels guilty about the clone's punishment, overheard by Millie and Tamia, who investigate. At the factory, Yumi and Odd defend the skid from Hornets, while Elida and Ulrich explore an Earth facility. Meanwhile, possessed William confronts Jeremy, assisted by the girls. Yumi and Odd battle tarantulas before Tamia instructs a return to Lyoko. William deletes the clone, causing Jeremy and Millie to witness the supercomputer overheating. Elida rushes back to Lyoko to save the skid, and the team confronts William on Earth. He escapes to Lyoko, but Elida repairs the supercomputer. After a return to the past, Jeremy plans a safer clone upgrade, hinting at hope for its behavior. Elida experiences a troubling nightmare of a wolf chasing her and abducting her mother in a snowy log cabin. The next day, amidst winter break, Elida confides in her friends about the dream. Concerned for Elida's solitude during the holidays, Jeremy frets while Ulrich, Odd, and Yumi prepare to spend time with their families. Elida declines Yumi's invitation to join her family, preferring to stay at school. Alone on campus, Elida receives a mysterious message purportedly from her father, leading her to a simulation bubble on Lyoko. Virtualizing herself, she encounters a simulated version of her father but realizes it's a trap by Xana. Yumi alerts Jeremy, who rushes back to campus with Ulrich and Odd to aid Elida. In the simulation, Elida faces William while Yumi and the others combat tarantulas outside. Elida uses her creativity to destroy the simulation, but William throws her into the digital sea. However, the real Franz Hopper saves her and reveals his existence to the group. Back at school, they exchange gifts, and Jeremy invites Elida to spend the break with him, which she joyfully accepts, cherishing the memory of her brief encounter with her father. Ulrich finds Odd excited in their messy dorm room after a shower. Odd breaks a mirror, prompting Ulrich to warn him about bad luck. Despite this, Odd remains optimistic. However, Jim gives him detention unjustly. In the cafeteria, Odd faces more bad luck, and the group plans to destroy the military base's supercomputer. Odd asks Azra out, but is embarrassed when Nicholas and Herb intervene. Meanwhile, at the factory, Alita, Odd, Ulrich, and Yumi are virtualized onto Lyoko. Odd and Yumi are sent to the military base, where they face Jana's attack with cankerlets. Alita and Odd encounter glitches and fight Hornets.
Odd, what's happening? You lost half your life points just now.
Back at the base, Yumi and Ulrich discover Xana's manufacturing plans and face cankerlets. William attacks the skid, while Ulrich confronts cankerlets in the super calculator room. Despite glitches, they succeed, with Ulrich destroying the super calculator. At dinner, Odd's bad luck continues, but he hopes returning Azra's lost phone will change his luck, only to find out it belongs to Jim. During breakfast, Jim delivers mail, including a package for Odd, a postcard for Alita, and a contest win for Jeremy, which Odd secretly entered. Jeremy, initially declining the prize, changes his mind after reassurance from Alita. At the airbase, Jeremy's fear of flying prompts a compromise for the photo shoot. Meanwhile, Elida detects an activated tower and alerts Odd, Ulrich, and Yumi, who head to the factory. In the jet, Xana takes control, trapping Jeremy and the pilot. Aboard, Jeremy informs the team of Xana's plan to crash into the factory. They rush to Lyoko to deactivate the tower. On board the jet, the pilot explains the dire situation to Jeremy, who finds the ejector seat disabled. Meanwhile, on Lyoko, Ulrich, Odd, and Yumi fight crabs, while Elida confronts William. As the jet approaches the factory, the team battles William to save Elida. Yumi initiates a return to the past, saving Jeremy and preventing the crash. Afterward, Elida discovers Jeremy sent her the postcard, and Odd, posing as Jeremy, faces his fear during the flight. After studying Romeo and Juliet, the group discusses sacrifice for love. They learn about Bringa, Sissy's pen pal, captivating the school. Odd becomes infatuated with her, causing tension within the group. Jeremy and Elida confront Odd about the danger Bringa poses after discovering her interference with the supercomputer. Odd, manipulated by Bringa, inadvertently damages the system. Elida is sent to Lyoko to investigate, facing challenges due to the system's glitches. Ulrich and Yumi disown Odd for his actions. Meanwhile, Odd realizes Bringa's true nature and returns to help. A battle ensues on Lyoko, where Odd saves Elida from falling into the digital sea. They reconcile with Odd, deciding against a return to the past. Bringa leaves and the group celebrate her departure, relieved of the chaos she caused. In the digital sea, the team faces William and a shark, victorious but depleting the skid's energy, forcing an abort. Back on Earth, Jeremy suggests resting. Ulrich and Odd argue over Kiwi's mess, with the others siding with Ulrich. They punish Odd by moving Kiwi to the factory. Later, Jeremy detects a tower, coinciding with a specter possessing Kiwi too. Jeremy alerts Odd, who heads to the factory. Yumi and Ulrich, trapped by Kiwi clones, seek escape in the gym. Elida and Odd go to Lyoko, facing William and tarantulas. In the gym, Ulrich is injured. Jim protects him while Yumi heads to the factory. At the factory, Yumi is attacked, but Kiwi accidentally inputs a reloading program, aiding Odd. On Lyoko, Elida dupes William and deactivates the tower, ending the threat. Jeremy initiates a return to the past. In the aftermath, the team discusses, Elida reveals her strategy, Odd praises Kiwi, and they revoke Kiwi's punishment, finding him back to his mischievous self. In Jeremy's dorm room, Odd alerts the team of a surprise dorm inspection, prompting Yumi to hide Kiwi at her house. Discovering a new replica mimicking Sector 5, the team heads to the factory and is virtualized. On the space station replica, Yumi and Odd encounter metallic orbs while Ulrich seeks the key mechanism. Ulrich triggers it, breaking the barrier trapping the skid, while Elida confronts William. Meanwhile, Yumi and Odd sabotage the space station's supercomputer, causing it to explode. They reunite with Elida and escape the replica before its collapse. At Yumi's house, her parents unexpectedly embrace Kiwi, offering to keep him, but Odd declines, touched by the gesture and given sushi treats for Kiwi. Jeremy works on Skibladmir's shields, but is angered by Patrick sharing his dorm. Patrick bonds with Jeremy's friends. Elida confronts Jeremy about his behavior. In the rec room, Sissy overhears Odd's criticism. Jeremy alerts the team of a new replica, leaving Patrick alone. Jeremy leaves the shield program running but locks the door. Patrick accesses Jeremy's computer with Sissy's help, endangering Elida. Meanwhile, the team battles monsters on Lyoko. Patrick stands up to Sissy, who attacks him. On Lyoko, they face challenges as Jeremy struggles with his compromised computer. Patrick helps Jeremy and they confront Sissy and Herb, ultimately saving Patrick's life. Jeremy resets time, reconciles with Patrick, and decides to spend time with him. Elida is facing harassment and pressure before her concert, so she confides in Jeremy for support, but he prioritizes his work over her feelings. Hurt, Elida confronts Jeremy, who promises to attend. Meanwhile, at the concert venue, Elida's dressing room is attacked by a possessed Sophie, forcing the subdigitals to perform without her. Yumi, Odd, and Ulrich rush to Elida's aid, discovering the Xan attack. Sophie kidnaps Elida, leading to a showdown at the factory where Jeremy, Yumi, and Odd fight Sophie and William on Lyoko. Elida deactivates the tower, triggering a return to the past. Jeremy apologizes and attends Elida's concert, where she performs successfully, overcoming her fears. Elida discovers a photo of herself and Franz Hopper at the Hermitage, with a mysterious equation in the background. Jeremy learns it's a reset program for Lyoko. Odd mistakenly sends the photo to Sissy, who shows it to her father, leading to detention for the group. Principal Delmas is possessed by Xana, sending Elida to Lyoko. As Syphozoa tries to make her jump into the digital sea, but Ulrich and Yumi intervene. Using the reset program, Jeremy frees Elida and deactivates the tower. They return to the past to erase suspicion. Elida reveals her last name is Sheffer, not Hopper, and Fran's first name is Waldo, not Franz. They changed names for a fresh start at the Hermitage. Odd reluctantly presents one of his films, feeling discontent because his parents always praise him without criticism, making him feel abnormal. As Anna strikes, using the school's cell phone tower to spread a virus, Odd's parents are among the first victims. The virus turns people into aggressive slaves. With only the Lyoko warriors and Sissy unaffected, they deactivate the tower. A return trip erases everyone's memories of the incident. Odd then screens his film, highlighting the humorous side of Caddick. Sissy, who helped earlier, is portrayed positively, surprising her. Yumi is upset when an embarrassing photo of her appears in the Caddick newspaper, blaming Odd for it. Odd shifts the blame to Ulrich, causing tension between them. Meanwhile, Jeremy plans a mission to an ice replica in Siberia, where Xana is growing brains. Odd and Yumi are sent to destroy it, but encounter William. Elida realizes the tower data can free him. After disabling William, they face a new threat. The Colossus, a colossal fire elemental. It overwhelms them, forcing a strategy change. Meanwhile, Yumi forgives Ulrich and Odd confesses his deceit. Yumi gets revenge by publishing a compromising photo of Ulrich and Odd, leading to a comical chase. Jeremy plans to develop a multi-agent system to combat Xana, but it's still in progress. He discovers a way to free William from Xana's control, requiring direct access to the Ice Replica's supercomputer. Meanwhile, William's clone's odd behavior alarms his parents during their visit. At their replica, Yumi and Ulrich destroy Mantes, attempting to sever translation, while William summons the Colossus. Jeremy stalls the Colossus, allowing Elida and Odd to reach the supercomputer. They face robotic drones and lose the Skibledner during the rescue attempt. Elida frees William before being devirtualized. On Earth, William replaces his clone, reassuring his parents. Meanwhile, Ulrich grapples with William's renewed affection for Yumi. As Jeremy works on his multi-agent system, Elida has nightmares of her father's demise at Xana's hands. Franz Hopper contacts Jeremy and arranges a meeting on Lyoko, where he transmits data to complete Jeremy's system. Xana possesses William again and sends the Colossus to attack Franz. Yumi fights possessed William while the others protect Franz. Elida and Odd head to Sector 5 to launch the program. Ulrich defeats the Colossus, but is devirtualized by its falling corpse. To power the program, Franz sacrifices himself, eradicating Xana and its replicas. Though victorious, Franz's sacrifice leaves them somber. After defeating Xana for good, the former Lyoko warriors gather in the cafeteria, somber over Franz Hopper's sacrifice. Yumi announces their plan to shut down the supercomputer, marking the end of their secret battles. At the factory, Jeremy hesitates to deactivate it, fearing the loss of their bond. Sissy, suspicious of their activities, investigates and discovers Jeremy's video diary detailing Xana's attacks. Meanwhile, the group grapples with their reasons for voting against shutting down the supercomputer, finding closure in their past adventures. As Sissy threatens to expose them, Jeremy initiates a return to the past to erase her memory. The group reconciles with Sissy and unanimously decides to shut down the supercomputer. With the deed done, they reflect on their journey, bidding farewell to their adventures with a sense of closure. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, then do let us know about your favorite character in the series. Also, leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.